It has been widely documented that Joseph Bonanno was allegedly behind a plot to try and kill mob bosses Tommy Lucchese and Carlo Gambino. But did you know that prior to this, Bonanno also tried to kill the boss of another crime family? Let's check it out. I'm James Gladwish and welcome to OC Shorts, bringing you detailed historical snapshots of the American Mafia and other organised crime. Feel free to subscribe if you like that sort of thing. Today, we're going to take a quick look at a lesser discussed plot by Joseph Bonanno to try and kill a mafia boss. In the early 1960s, the commission called Joseph Bonanno to appear before them after hearing that he was allegedly involved in a plot alongside Profaci family boss Joe Magliocco to have rival bosses Tommy Lucchese and Carlo Gambino killed. Bonanno refused to appear before the commission, and a period of turmoil then took place in the Bonanno crime family, and to some extent in New York in general. This situation has been well covered by many books, documentaries and YouTube channels, including this one. However, what is rarely discussed is how, a few years earlier, mob boss Joseph Bonanno was accused in front of the commission of plotting to have Los Angeles family boss Frank DeSimone murdered. One FBI file states, on 12/17/64, LA redacted CTE furnished information that in 1961, Joe Bonanno had formulated plans to take over the family in Los Angeles and approached John Roselli and Joey Giancana and invited them to participate, and both agreed to do so. However, Roselli thereafter discussed this matter with Frank DeSimone, who was the reported head of the Los Angeles family, and then made a trip to New York and reportedly discussed the matter someone in that city, probably according to the informant Carlo Gambino. Thereafter, Joe Bonanno was ordered to give up his plan to take over Los Angeles. So, as we can see from the file, we get a very top-level summary of Joe Bonanno's plot to kill LA family boss Frank DeSimone in 1961. But, as we can also see, there appears to be no real ramifications handed down by the commission after Bonanno admitted his involvement. We can see that Bonanno tried to recruit Johnny Roselli into his plan, a mobster who had connections to both the LA family and the Chicago outfit. In 1964, following the meetings that the commission were having regarding Bonanno's alleged plot to have Tommy Lucchese and Carlo Gambino killed, New Jersey family boss Sam DeCavalcanti was recorded discussing how he found out from Carlo Gambino that Joseph Bonanno had previous form regarding plotting to kill bosses of other crime families. One FBI file states, DeCavalcanti then related that he had learned during his meeting with Gambino the previous day that Bonanno wanted to kill Frank DeSimone so that his son, Bill Bonanno, could take over California. DeCavalcanti stated, when Amico Nos wants to kill another Amico Nos, just so that he can get in position, then he's very treacherous and very dangerous. And he didn't even deny it when Frank DeSimone accused him of it in front of the commission. Interestingly, Sam DeCavalcanti also provided his view on where he believed the power in the commission lay at this time in 1964, as well as how Chicago boss Sam Giancana liked to handle problems such as the Bonanno situation. The FBI file reads, DeCavalcanti further related that in his recent dealings with the commission, Tommy Brown Lucchese, Carlo Gambino, and Stefano Magaddino spoke directly to him. He described these three as the only three spokesmen for the commission. He stated that concerning Mooney from Chicago, Sam Giancana, every other word was kill. So, from the FBI files that we have looked at, we can see that, according to informants, in 1961, Joseph Bonanno allegedly planned to have Los Angeles boss Frank DeSimone murdered, and wanted to replace him with his own son, Salvatore Bill Bonanno. And, according to one file, LA boss Frank DeSimone even made his accusation directly to Joe Bonanno in front of the commission, and Bonanno didn't deny it. So, what do we know about Joe Bonanno's actual plot to kill Frank DeSimone? Frank Bompensiero was a West Coast mobster whose criminal career dated back to the 1920s, and he served under LA boss Jack Dragna. In around 1956, Frank DeSimone became the boss of the LA crime family following the natural death of Jack Dragna. At the time of Frank DeSimone's ascension to the position of family boss, Frank Bompensiero was in prison. Bompensiero fell out of favour with Frank DeSimone, and allegedly DeSimone even demoted Bompensiero from captain back down to soldier. In around 1967-1968, Frank Bompensiero would become an active informant for the FBI. At some point after Bompensiero was released from prison, he was approached by Joseph Bonanno via an intermediary in 1961, with Bonanno's plot to kill LA boss Frank DeSimone. Bompensiero would later tell the FBI the following information as documented in the following FBI file. Informant has furnished background in this matter. He explained that when Brooklyn LCN boss Joe Bonanno planned to take over California, extending his empire from Tucson, he tried to use the informant to kill off Frank DeSimone. Bonanno had known the informant for many years, and knew that if he thought his life was threatened, he would kill first and ask questions later. Bonanno contacted Antonio Bello, a San Diego cafe owner and member of the Bonanno family who moved to San Diego several years ago from New York. Bonanno gave Bello instructions to tell the informant that he had received reliable and confidential information that Frank DeSimone was going to have him killed. Bonanno is aware of the hatred the informant had for DeSimone, and that the informant was agreeable to Bonanno taking over Southern California. Upon instructions from Bonanno, Bello told the informant that his car was going to be set with a dynamite charge. This infuriated the informant, who had recently been released from state prison, as his car was being used by his daughter to transport his grandchildren to school. He spent several days and nights surveilling DeSimone, his underboss and capos in the Los Angeles area, attempting to determine if they were getting together in a conspiratorial manner. He was unable to resolve this. The informant returned to San Diego, where he rented an apartment. He brought Bello to the apartment by gunpoint. Under this pressure, Bello claimed his informant was San Diego LCN member Joe Limandri. With the help of LCN member Biagio Bonventre, now deceased, he brought Limandri to the apartment at gunpoint and confronted Bello with Limandri. Bello then admitted that he had been told to do this by Bonanno, and that Bonanno had hoped the informant would run berserk, kill DeSimone, his underboss and capos, and then it would be easier for Bonanno to take over the LCN in Southern California. Upon being released, Bello immediately fled San Diego and returned to New York, where he later died of a heart attack. The above matter was brought to the attention of the commission, where Tom Lucchese and Joe Zirelli, who knew the informant well, backed him up, and this was the beginning of serious problems for Bonanno with the commission. So, as we can see from the file, Frank Bompensiero says that he found out that Joe Bonanno was trying to use Bompensero's hatred of DeSimone as a motivation to kill Frank DeSimone, and that Bonanno even manufactured a story that Bompensero's life was in danger from Frank DeSimone. Bompensiero then informed the likes of New York boss Tommy Lucchese about what he knew, and the commission supported him. It is interesting to note that Tommy Lucchese had long-standing ties to the LA crime family, and had been close with former boss Jack Dragna, and through Dragna evidently knew Bompensiero and trusted him. And, as we saw from an earlier file, LA boss Frank DeSimone found out about the plot and made his accusation directly to Joseph Bonanno in front of the commission. And as we saw, Joe Bonanno didn't deny it. However, Joseph Bonanno, who was a long-time member of the commission for 30 years, was not punished for his plan to kill Frank DeSimone in 1961. The world of Cosa Nostra at this time was full of ambitious men who used treachery and sneakiness and betrayal to further their needs. These are characteristics that Joe Bonanno may well have displayed. However, he was not alone. His contemporaries throughout his career, such as Carlo Gambino, Tommy Lucchese, and even Charlie Luciano, all backstabbed their superiors at some point in their criminal careers. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts on the topic covered in this video. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching.